Hey guys, this is Shinobi Slick bringing you a deck profile on my Odd Eyes Gambit deck. Now, if you don't know, Odd Eyes Gambit is it's my own creation, but if you don't know what the Gambit stands for, it's a maneuver in which one seeks to gain an advantage. So, the reason I call it this is probably the same reason you're asking, why do you see a Curie Bandit? Because we actually mill in this deck. Yes, a pendulum deck that mills. I'll explain that further, and I'll give a little commentary on what inspired this idea at the end if you would like. But without further ado, I will get into the deck profile for you. Okay, so to start off, we're going to play a small mill engine that's going to help with getting some of our spells and some of our monsters in the grave. Yes, you even want to put some of your spells in the grave. If you already seen the Enlightenment Paladin, then you would understand that, you know, sometimes that can be a good thing because it's like a backdoor search for the Paladin. Now, this is for the post-ban list, so I'm going to let you guys know that's why I'm doing this, because Joker got hit, and I wanted to add back the consistency. So it was a maneuver to gain the consistency, to gain back that advantage. That's why I call it the Gambit. Also, it seemed like a risky idea to come up with this, to start milling, but it works out fine, and I'll explain why. This gives you a level 8 tuner, which lets you make your Paladin. A level 4 tuner that lets you make level 8. So it's how you make your Paladin and some of the other level 8s that we're going to play in here. Very important. You guys should know pretty much what Raiden does. If not, look up the card. Curie Bandit, it's another card I like for this deck because it also lets you grab some of those spells while you're milling for yourself. By himself. And it's really good in this Pendulum deck. Really, really good. When you Pendulum summon and then in main phase 2, normal summon your Curie Bandit and then tribute him. And it's probably one of the best usages I've gotten out of a Curie Bandit ever. Wow. So, by the way, I did try this out with a larger Lightsworn and Mill engine. With the Lilas and Luminas. It was pretty fun. I'm still tampering with that, but if you guys would like to see whatever I come up with, I had a really good version, but I just wanted to go with the more controlled version, so that's why I cut it down. But if you guys would like to see that, I can show you further. Just like, comment, subscribe. If I get at least 15 likes, then I'll definitely come up with something for you guys. So, gotta start off small. I'm aiming for 15 since I'm still pretty new to doing deck profiles. Just 15 likes. That's very simple, guys. Alright. Odd Eyes, Oath Dragon Magician. I'm sorry, I always call him Odd Eyes Magician. But Oath Dragon Magician is part of the reason why you can really grab stuff back from the grave. So without the Jokers, increasing your Oath Dragon Magicians and being able to like grab those cards from the grave is a really good way to kind of like fish out the stuff that you threw in the grave. So it's really, really good. This is the best card in the deck. Best card. I've really always wanted to do that, so I'm sorry. Now back to it. Oh my god, this dude is fantabulous. This is ridiculously good in this deck. Gotta play him at 3. He's so necessary at 3. And just try it out. It's beautiful. It's my favorite card. Like it's my favorite of like the text in the deck now. Love this card. Okay, for our low scales, our other low scales. If you didn't know, Oath Dragons is scale 2, so thought I'd continue on with low scales. Now I played 3 Zanki Magicians. I definitely want to have Zanki Magician because even if I don't go to my exceeds, he's a 25 beater, and he can help with the Rebellion play in your scale. He's a level 7, so you can overlay 4 like one of your XYZs to help with making Rebellion. Also, he's a boss. Like he's like one of the bosses for the magicians. Excuse me. And so I've always loved this. I've actually grown with this deck for like a year. I started with the Time Gazer, Stargazer, and the Odd Eyes when I got the Space Time Showdown, and then later got like Odd Eyes Pendulum. So I've been crawling with this deck and teching it into the, different decks for the year. This was my first deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! No, I've only been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! A year, but you know I'm pretty fairly good at the game, and always have awesome deck ideas. But anyways, this should have a really good matchup against a lot of light decks out there, like and especially with Cosmo being, you know, a really big thing, like being able to stop like farm girls and stuff like that. Like this really good card, and I get it out as a boss. Like I like it. It's this and Odd Eyes. A lot of people forget that they're very relevant effects. They have pretty good effects on the board. So let's move on from there. Next, for the low scale, I play one copy of Timebreaker Magician. Now, if you don't really like the triple Zanki, I felt that he was more necessary and better than this card. But, you know, and I didn't really need that many more level 3s. But if you like this better, there's some things that you can do with level 3s in here that I'll explain. And, you know, it's pretty good. Now, basically his effect is that, you know, when he's summoned, if he's Pendulum summoned by himself, he double his attack. The other effect is that he can banish himself and one monster on your opponent's side of the field, which can just kind of help to get around a big monster, remove it temporarily so you can get your board set up, get out of Naturia Beast and other things like that. Now, his Pendulum scale, I'm not as familiar because I don't always put him in the scale. But it's, each turn, the first Pendulum monsters you control that would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect is not destroyed. So that's really good when you have Pendulum monsters on the field. Your opponent doesn't know what to do, what this does, and like they try to like Mirror Force or you know, Torrential Tribute or something like that. Like that's pretty neat. But you don't really use him for that effect. Like the banishing effect is the main thing, and he's a pretty good tech. So I really like this guy. Also, really good with Kieran's, and I'll explain that because Kieran is the next card we're going to show. Now, Kieran is really good because he gets another use out of your Oath Dragons, your Jokers. He also, if you get this on the board with the card I just mentioned, sometimes this works for a really good control factor of being able to bounce him for Kieran's effect, and then Pendulum summon him by himself. If you don't really have anything else going on, still trying to get like card advantage, collect some cards to your hand, just keep Pendulum summoning him. He becomes a 28. You can swing over something, or with the 28 meter, or banish it and make room for Kieran to attack. So like they tandem together really well. Check out that combination with these two. Yeah. Also with Kieran, like that's really neat. Like yeah. He bounces your opponent's monster. By bounce back one of your own Pendulum monsters and then bounce one of your opponent's monsters. It's kind of annoying to get around. Alright, so for our high scales, we're going to show 3 Dragon Pit. You definitely don't mind discarding stuff. Obviously, you don't mind milling in this deck. And it just really, again, makes your Oath Dragons more live when you Pendulum summon those. And that's why you want to use Kieran to keep bouncing back Oath Dragons, Pendulum summon them, and getting back materials that you discarded or that you have milled. So really, really good. It's a Pendulum deck that can play from the grave. And I did not realize this. In playing this deck online for a while, did not realize how well it can play from the grave and that a Lightsworn engine. It was a Gambit. It was a risky maneuver to just try and save the deck, because those of you out there, you probably recognize if you've been playing this that the deck did get a step slower, and it's a little bit like not as it's not as good with the Joker at 1. It's still good, but this was just a way to just kind of give it back that speed that it had. So next, yes, the Timebreaker Magician. Timebreaker Magician is really good. What I was going to say that you can do with level 3s, if you're looking like he's a level 3 and there's no more use for him other than him being a scale 8 as a replacement for Jokers, I always played this card, but I played him at 2 when we had Jokers. But you can actually go for Trish with all these 3s with your tuners, your level 3 tuner, Noble Dragon, which, you know, I haven't shown yet, but spoiler, whatever. You should know that Noble Dragon's played in this. But yeah, so 1 Noble Dragon and 2 Time Gazer Magicians is an easy Trish. And you have a lot of scale 2s in here, so that gets under that, letting you summon all 3 of those and get out a Trishula play, which could be very, very big and disrupt something that your opponent has going on. And they probably won't be able to come back from that. So next, we're going to play Zanki Magician. You needed the additional scale 8, and sometimes this is really good in the scale for its effect that you can actually make one XYZ monster the same level as a level of 5 or higher monster. And so it'll change that rank, making it like a level 8. Excuse me, like I'll use this with like you make your Exceed monster the same level as like an Odd Eyes, and then now you have the 2 level 7s with Zenki in the other scale, which is usually what my other scale is. You actually can make Odd Eyes Rebellion fairly easy because of this. Like, it just gives you more opportunities to do it with different field sets, so making the Rebellion play a little bit more common. So this was really good. Back before there were like any of the Dragon Magicians, I used to play this at like 2 or 3, I can't remember. But it was a little bit better before. So now, but like, oh, and if you don't have, if you control more cards than your opponent, its scale does become a 4. That's the one downside to it. But you can discard like Wisdom Eye for his effect to correct the scale. So a lot of people say Wisdom Eye doesn't have any other utility, like you don't really need him. But he's very recyclable, and he has his discard kind of helps with that, with correcting both her and your Time Gazers. So moving along, we're going to show the Pendulum. I mean, not the Pendulum, Performapal engine. Alright, now this Performapal engine is probably what would come out, because this is a kind of expensive card, and I know some of you guys are like, okay, well dang, I would need that card to play. No, the Performapal engine mostly helps with your like fusion cards, and it does give you search. But again, if I get at least 15 likes on this, or some comments from people requesting a more budget-friendly version of this, then I'll go on and put in the Luminas and things. And you can probably just do that yourself, but I'll go on and do a video on how to make a pretty good Light Sworn version of this. And you get a little bit more milling, and your Oath Dragons will be a little bit, you know, I'll show a very fluid way to play the deck. I just like the fusion cards available, and this was something I invested in before the adjustment ban list. So yeah, so really good. I'll show an alternative. If you don't know what he does, look him up, and there's also an errata on this card, so definitely look it up what the errata is on Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer. Goodness. Sorry I talk so much, but I really wanted to give some decent explanation. But alright, so you have Performapal Silverclaw is a really good card to search off of this. He can become a 21 beater by his own effect. He attacks, then all of your Performapal monsters gain 300. You can even stack that if you have 2 of them on the field. And then also with Sorcerer in your scale, you know, he'll gain another 1,000 when he's Pendulum summoned. So become a 28 beater plus the extra 300 because he's attacking and he's a Performapal monster. That can help get over things like Dark Destroyer. So this should have a pretty good Cosmo matchup. One Joker, because Konami says so. That was like much more live with the Sorcerer when you could just search a wolf and a Joker. Wow, that was those were the days. Yep. Anyways, moving on. The one card I'm proxying, I apologize for this, it hasn't come in the mail yet, but Splash Mammoth. Splash Mammoth is basically a built-in polymerization for your Odd Eyes fusion monsters and allows you to go into Vortex pretty easily. So that's it for our Performapal engine. Let's move along. Next, you're going to play the bloopers. Okay, just kidding. Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, namesake of the deck. You got to play 3 of him. He's like the central point of the deck. Like, everything is revolved around Odd Eyes. So, then I play 2 of Noble Magician. She's good in the grave. She's good in hand. She's good in the extra. She's good. Now I see people play it at 1. I say take it up to 2 and try it at 2. It is definitely better at 2, especially in this build right here. You definitely want 2 for this build because you want to mill this, and then it's live in the grave. So you want a better chance of milling it, and then when you get your Odd Eyes, you can actually use her effect from the grave with the Odd Eyes and Then she'll go to your extra deck. You can Pendulum Summon her and use her to synchro with something else. But I found that having 2 was better than 1 because I always had more opportunities to synchro summon to either draw it or mill it sooner, or yeah, and it just like helps you go into like more than 1 synchro in a turn if you have this available. So you definitely want 2 of her. Now, the upset. I know people are going to pull out. Please don't pull out your hair. You only play 2 of these. You don't really need 3. You really don't. I know there's somebody that's really wanting to debate this. I'm trying to keep this video short, so I won't give a great explanation. Put something in the comments, but and I'll try and like comment back to you, get back to you on deeper explanation. We'll debate it. But honestly, at 3, it was like, it's good. It's really good to do this, but you know, in this build, you really don't need it. And this is usually what you're going to go for off your Pendulum Call. And you recycle 2 so well. And it was more options, better normal summons, additional stuff to push your game further that did it more versatile than him to just be able to only add them to your scales. And that just sucks. If you activate a Wisdom Eye, they Wavering Eyes, and blow up your scales. Now you got a trapped Wisdom Eye, and you can't even normal summon to get them back. So it's just really funny, but you really just need 2 of him. There's other things that you can normal summon, better attack, and different things that you can do, which I showed earlier. Okay, I think yes, that's it for the monsters. Sorry for you Wisdom Eye fans out there. You're like, wow, this guy's crazy. Yes, I'm a little bit bananas. I'm bonkers because I will try all sorts of deck ideas and really won't let the meta, what I call meta heads, people that just, you have to play obligatory, and sometimes you got to be creative and be an individual and try some stuff. So you people out there that like to be creative, take a risk every once in a while and try and play it, even though everybody's like, you mandatory have to play it. Try it out. Sometimes you come up with really neat stuff. Pendulum Call. This card is kind of self-explanatory why we played at 3. I just wanted to say one thing. Yes, again, it does mill a card or discard a card from your hand, but you can get those back. That's why it's so important to just really abuse your Oath Dragons. Oh, that was another thing too. I took Wisdom Eye down to 2 and added the 3rd Oath Dragon, which I just felt was so much better in the deck. So, and there just wasn't anything else that I really felt it was worth to get the additional Wisdom Eye, that it was worth taking out. So, especially in this build. So, you guys check that out. Pendulum Claw searches 2 different magicians. It's basically the double. It's like a Rhoda, but you get 2. Now, another card that goes bananas in this deck is the Pot of Riches. You definitely got to play Pot of Riches in this deck. It is so live in here. Helps out, take off a little pressure on your Oath Dragons. Have another way to shuffle some of those monsters in case you mill like any Performer Pal monsters. Those are the main targets for this because you can't get them back with Oath Dragon. So what it does is it will shuffle 3 Pendulum monsters from your grave and or extra deck into the deck and then draw 2 cards, which just keeps the chain moving, gives you card advantage. You could recycle something, get to something else that you may need. It lets you get a little bit more manipulation with your speed in the deck. This is bananas in this deck in the Lightsworn version. Oh my god. Bananas. Play it. Love that card. I just can't say it enough. Alright, the Charge of the Light Brigades, obviously we need this to search our Raiden, but it also mills 3 cards, which gives a really good setup with the Enlightenment Pendulum, because you'll mill 3 off this, add a Raiden to hand, and then use Raiden's effect, mill 2 more, then go for Enlightenment Paladin. If there's a spell in there, you can actually add that spell to hand, and if you have the resources to actually activate it, say if it was a Pendulum Call, you would activate that Pendulum Call, search 2 monsters, and it just gets really bananas from there. So either that, or sometimes if you mill the Pot of Riches. If you mill the Pot of Riches, you add the Pot of Riches to hand, and if you got 3 monsters in there, go on and shuffle 3 monsters in, use that Pot of Riches, and draw 2 cards, and you just start really pushing some hand advantage in here, guys. I did this for you guys. I did it for me also, but I did this so you guys could see that the deck definitely has some potential, and it could actually be a higher competitor than it's seen for. Now, next, you have a lot of dark targets. So, with your level 8s, with your Time Gazer, he's another. So, if you feel like he's clogging, you don't like him, and you're like, okay, well, Trish is one reason. Here's another reason. He's a dark monster. So, if he's ever dead, and you can use it for discard fodder for your Dragon Pit, or use him for your Dark Allure. And you have like 16, 17 Dark Allure targets in here. So, definitely should be trying to play this. You're not really hurting on dark monsters. You can recover from it. Same thing with a Cloggy Zenki Magician. He's a dark monster. So if you feel that's Cloggy, he's another target. You can also throw in the 7 stars card. I didn't have room for it, but that would push your game a little bit too. But I felt like with that, it was more. There were more dark targets, so I went for Allure Darkness and the Pot of Riches. Like, it wasn't really necessary to throw that other one in there. Now for my personal tech. Magical Dimension. This is basically a card that is a way that I picked it because it was a out to Dark Destroyer who can't be targeted. So basically what it does is you tribute one of, if you have a spellcaster on the field and a spellcaster in hand, obviously, you're going to need one. But you got a spellcaster on the field, you can tribute that, you activate this, target one monster that you control. So you don't even have to target your spellcaster, just target any monster that you control. Tribute that monster to special summon one spellcaster from your hand. Then you can destroy one monster that your opponent controls, and it doesn't target. Check it out, Magical Dimensions. I wanted to play it like at a higher ratio, and I've played this over the year in my different variants of this deck. It gets kind of cloggy sometimes in this deck, especially because of the increase of non-spellcaster types monsters. So yeah, if you have a spellcaster, I don't know if I said magician, but yeah. So check that out. I'll try and give you guys a good look. There, so you don't have to worry about looking it up, and just pause it on that point in the screen if you want to read that more clearly. Next is for my 2 trap cards. I play Breakthrough Skill. Now this deck never really played a heavy amount of trap cards, but I felt that it was very useful. You can mill it and still get an effect negation from the grave. I felt this was the best effect negation option. And that's one thing this deck doesn't have, is very much effect negation. Doesn't have that until you get to your extra deck. So this was an out to the Nat Beast. If you mill this, then on like your next turn, you like activate it so you can stop the Nat Beast from activating its effect so that you can get your Pendulum Scale set up. So that's just another strategy. Also, setting these in your back row are very useful. And then when they go to the grave, they get extra effects off of them. So really neat. Now, I don't have any really big play cards in here for the traps. I'm still looking at that. Some of these things are subject to change. But I felt that I never ended up seeing them much anyway, so I didn't rely on them that much. Okay, so we're going to get into the extra deck. Now, whew. Alright, so for our level 8 synchros, we're going to play the Enlightenment Paladin. Very, very, very good card. Like I said, you get to shuffle back. You get to add one of your milled spell cards to hand. Also, if he swings over something, 25 attack is pretty relevant. So if he destroys a monster, you get to burn for that monster's original attack, which is pretty good depending on what you're swinging over. Like a 2400 attack power monster, you got this. You burn for 25, which is just like a direct attack pretty much. So that's pretty neat. One of the most important cards, the Stardust Dragon. You definitely want to play them. You can protect your field. This is another good first turn option. Especially like if you go first, you definitely want to set this up so your opponent can't Wavering Eyes and different things like that. You can protect your field from MST and just really hold on to your scales. Now, if you see I didn't play no irises or anything like that, this is one of the explanations. And I often found that the iris was dead and only searching one thing, which was Odd Eyes. I just really didn't need the field spell card. So I'm sorry anybody that's playing Iris. It's like, but I'm sorry. It just wasn't really as needed. And you have many other ways to get to your Odd Eyes. That just... And it does protect your scales. That was the one thing I did like about it. But yeah. So, Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. You can, if you don't want to play, since I know some of the things I have in this deck is pretty expensive. This is one. It's I think like a $20 roughly, depending on the rarity. It's like 20. I've seen it between $18 and $24, or like $19 and $24. But if you don't want to invest in it, I just was a really big Hot Red Archfiend and fan and played it throughout the year and placed it before this came out, and I just had to get the upgraded version. But still a very good option to play the Hot Red Archfiend. So yeah, if you a little bit more budget, you wanted something more budget friendly option, very very powerful card still. So don't count it out. Now for your Odd Eyes, you got to play the Odd Eyes Rebellion. I'm not gonna explain the Odd Eyes cards. If you're playing Odd Eyes, you should probably look these cards up, and that'll make it a little bit easier to make this deck profile go a little faster. So you play the Odd Eyes Absolute. Sorry, I have my cards a little bit out of order. Odd Eyes Vortex, Odd Eyes Meteor, and Beast Eyes. So that's it for your Odd Eyes monsters, and you know, Beast Eyes. That's pretty much it. You know, the ones that I play. You guys should definitely look up those cards right there, because yeah. Oh, by the way, I will tell you something about this one, is the wolves actually give this a 1800 burn when you destroy a monster, and it's a contact fusion with Odd Eyes and a wolf. So 1800 burn, he's my favorite Odd Eyes monster. One Red Eyes, it's basically a cowboy for game in this deck. Also, you can use it at other points, and you can use Zenki with this, so like if you want to go for it early, burn your opponent for a little bit, just to try and get some more damage, and then you want to go into a Rebellion play, you can actually use Zenki to use your Red Eyes also. So as long as it's like a dragon, like it takes 2 dragons, so him being a dragon is really neat, and a rank 7. So use Zenki to make his his rank a level. By that time, you won't need Odd Eyes if you can make Rebellion, because you're about to close out the dang game with Rebellion. Next, for our level 7 synchros, we're going to play Clear Wing. Clear Wing is definitely good for protecting all your level 5 and highers, and negating your opponent's level 5 and higher monsters from activating effects. Really good on the board with protecting your Michael the Arch Lightsworn, which is why we definitely want to try and get like double synchros out and get this board. So that's why another reason to play Noble Dragon at 2 is so needed. And why Zenki and the other ones are really good for synchro summoning with, because they're light monsters. So you can actually make the Michael the Arch Lightsworn. And then last for the level 7 synchros, I play the Black Rose, because when in doubt, you can blow up the field. And I picked this up from another person's video. I always play the Black Rose, but I picked up that if you played a Pendulum Call that turn, your scales won't get blown up. So you can go for Black Rose, blow up the field, keep your scales, and Pendulum Summon, depending on if you have the materials for it. That's just really funny. And then Pendulum Summon everything back, so it just makes it even better. I wish I knew the guy's name, but I just happened to be scrolling through videos and letting my YouTube channel just kind of play what was ever next, and I walked in and started watching that, and it was pretty neat. So for my rank 4s, I have Rebellion Dragon, Heartland Draco, and Daigusto Emerald. The only one I'm going to speak about is going to be Daigusto Emerald. You guys should look up the other 2. They're actually part of my big 3. I love playing those. Daigusto Emerald is very important in this deck because, again, like with us throwing stuff in the grave, you definitely want to be able to pick and choose what you put back in it. So he kind of helps out supporting the Pot of Riches. Also, you can use him to recycle some of your extra deck monsters, which is why you don't see me playing 2 of any of these extra deck monsters. So, yes, he's expensive, but he does kind of save you money. Instead of buying 2 Vortex, instead of buying 2 of certain cards, invest in a Daigusto Emerald, and you can play 14 different monsters for the rest of your extra deck and be able to recycle them. If you can make a rank 4, you can recycle any of your extra decks. So this is just something I advise anyone picking up. And I did not do a side deck. Again, I'm sorry about that if anybody, I didn't mention it. If you're really hoping to see a side deck, I haven't fully built it yet. So, yes, some things in this is going to be subject to change. And like I said, there is I built a Lightsworn version of this, a complete Lightsworn. You can turn the video off at this point if you don't want to hear my commentary, but there's so much neat and powerful things that you can do in this deck. Actually, I'm actually not even going to do much for commentary. I'm going to keep this short because I've been having some trouble uploading very long videos, so I don't know how long this has gone already, but If you have any questions, I will answer them in a later video or in the comments below. So like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see Lightstorm video, let's try and get at least 15 likes. I know it's a small goal, but I'm just starting out here. So you know, those of you that start supporting me, wish me luck. Thank you. This is Shinobi Slick, Odd Eyes Gambit deck profile. And remember, ninjas never go out of style.